Welcome. So, you've heard the term case interview, and it probably sounds a little intimidating, right? Well, you're in the right place. In the next 5 minutes, we're going to completely demystify this thing and give you a simple, clear roadmap to turn this challenge into a total showcase of your skills.
All right, here's our game plan. First, we're going to cover what a case interview actually is. Then we'll walk through how to kick things off strong, how to really drive the analysis, and then, of course, how to absolutely nail the recommendation. And to wrap up, we'll look at the common traps you've got to avoid and what really separates a good performance from a truly great one.
Okay, first things first, we need to reframe this challenge. See, most people go in thinking it's some kind of test, but that's really the wrong way to look at it. It's actually a lot more collaborative than you think. So if it's not a test with one magic right answer, then what is the interviewer really looking for? Well, it all boils down to one simple thing. They just want to see how you think.
Think of it like this. It is not a quiz where you're supposed to just spit out something you memorized. No, it's a conversation. It's a chance for them to see your problem-solving process live, in action. Can you take a messy, ambiguous problem and give it structure? Can you ask smart questions? That's what's being tested because, that's what a consultant actually does all day.
So knowing it's a conversation is one thing, but how do you actually start it off on the right foot? Well, those first 90 seconds are absolutely critical. This is where you set the tone for everything that follows and build the foundation for your entire case.
Okay, this is your opening playbook. 3 simple steps: listen, clarify, and structure. First, just listen. Really listen to the prompt. Second, ask some clarifying questions. Make sure you're both on the same page about the goal. And third, and this is so important, take a moment of silence to structure your approach. This little sequence is what turns it from a stressful monologue into a genuine problem-solving session. Now, that structure step, that's where frameworks come in. But here's the thing you have to remember. A framework is a toolkit. It is not a cage. It's just a starting point, a way to organize your thoughts so the interviewer can follow along. You have to adapt it and customize it for the specific case you're working on every single time.
All right, so you've got your structure laid out. Now it's time to actually drive the analysis. This is where you put your plan into motion and start working through your framework, piece by piece, to figure out what's really going on. And this simple formula shows you the logic perfectly. You start high level with profit. Then you drill down. Maybe you think the problem's on the revenue side, so you investigate price and volume. If that's a dead end, you pull back up, and then you drill down into costs, fixed and variable. See? You're just systematically crossing off possibilities. At some point, you might get hit with a question that asks for a number like this, like, estimate the market size for tires in the US. Don't panic. The exact number is not the point. What the interviewer really wants to see is how you make logical assumptions and walk them through your math. Seriously, your thought process is so much more important than the final number. Okay, you've done all the hard analytical work. Now you've got to bring it all home with a killer recommendation. This is where you take all your findings and package them into a conclusion that's clear, confident, and most importantly, actionable.
And a really strong recommendation has this structure. You start with the answer first. Boom, right to the point. Then you back it up with your 2 or 3 biggest findings. And this part is crucial. You also have to acknowledge the potential risks and propose what to do next. That shows you're thinking like a strategist, not just an analyst.
I mean, this quote really says it all, doesn't it? All that analysis doesn't mean a thing if it doesn't lead to a clear recommendation. Your job is to take all that information and turn it into a real, decisive plan. That's the whole game.
Okay, let's switch gears and talk about the common mistakes that can completely derail even the sharpest candidates, because avoiding these traps is just as important as knowing what you should be doing.
So trap number 1 is just blurting out the first thing that comes to mind. You have to resist that urge. The interviewer wants to see your logic, not a gut reaction. It is totally okay. In fact, they want you to take a quiet 30 seconds to structure your thoughts before you start talking. Trap number 2, getting lost on tangents. It's so easy to go down a rabbit hole that has nothing to do with the main problem. You have to always keep that core objective in mind and make sure every piece of your analysis is pushing you closer to that solution. And please, don't try to sound smart by dropping a bunch of buzzwords you don't really understand. Using jargon the wrong way just screams insecurity. And think about it. If they can't trust your judgment in an interview, there's no way they're going to trust you in front of a real client.
Now, sometimes an interviewer might push back and say something like, "I'm not sure I agree," or "I think you're wrong." Don't panic. It's usually a stress test. They just want to see how you handle pressure. So listen to their point, stay calm, and if you believe your logic is solid, defend it with confidence. But never, ever get defensive.
So, finally, let's talk about the difference between good and great. What separates a candidate who just gets through the case from one who totally wows the interviewer and walks away with an offer?
This right here is the key difference. A good candidate, they do the math right. They give a clear recommendation. But a great candidate, they do so much more. They don't just state the numbers. They explain what they mean for the business. They don't just solve the problem. They come up with creative ideas, like new ways to make money. They push the thinking to a whole new level.
So, are you ready to crack the case? Just remember, this isn't some secret ritual. It's a skill, and you can absolutely learn it. The goal isn't just about getting the answer right. It's about making that interviewer think, you know what? I would love to have this person on my team. Go in with that mindset, and you'll do more than just solve the case. You'll win them over.